Welcome to the Novi Knows Podcast, the podcast built for Novi users, with our builders sharing best practices to help you sell more homes and provide an industry-leading buyer experience. All right, we're excited. I've got Ryan Dillon here with Ladera Living, and this is a podcast that we've been trying to put together for a couple of months, and due to my schedule and Ryan's schedule, we haven't been able to make it happen. But I'm actually excited to have Ryan on the podcast today. So say hello, Ryan.
Well, it's good to see you, Cody. I've been telling a lot of people, I've never done podcasts before or panels at conferences, and you kicked off my first panel, and now well, and then shortly after that, I was on another podcast, and then I was on another panel, and then now you've got me on a second podcast, and I don't know if this is necessarily my calling, but I guess we'll give it a go.
Listen, I'm gonna take credit for recognizing the talent of
All
Ryan for
right.
everybody else. I always love to start this with just tell us a little bit about yourself, both professionally and personally, just so everybody can get to know you.
Yeah, professionally been in the home building industry for 12 years now. I actually started June of 2023. I just finished 5 years of college, and I was actually in the commercial general contracting world for just a short bit, did an internship there, and really got a grasp for the professionalism of a large general contractor. And um, during the summer of going through an internship program, my dad and my uncle were just on the edge of getting their first active adult community approved in Dallas Fort Worth, and it was a total miracle that particular project even getting approved. I remember sitting in the city council meeting, and I was about to be a senior in college. Had a great job lined up, had no clue if this whole like family business thing was going to turn out. And we went through the city council meeting, and for a lot of reasons, like we were not bending, but just pushing the envelope on some fire restrictions on streets and stuff because we were trying to get the land to work. And every city council member was like, no way, no way, no way, no way. And at the very end, a city council member just like got the thing out of the ditch, and they all flipped and ended up approving it. So to me, it was a total miracle. And that's what has kind of kicked off this journey. And it's been a journey for sure. I started as a superintendent. Still remember, it was like a month in, me starting pouring my first two slabs, and dealing with working with customers and their complaints and their issues while you're doing that. And I mean, we didn't know what we were doing. I mean, we were trying to build production homes, but we were allowing custom, all sorts of custom changes. We were storing fixtures, and we had a Connex on site. We were storing their customers' fixtures so we could put them in. And I mean, I remember even installing epoxy on someone's garage floor because it was an option we sold, and we felt like that was what superintendents should do. So I tell that to our team all the time, like, man, you guys got it made compared to what it used to be like. But through all that, just very grateful for the experience of being in the field because I mean, I couldn't do my role effectively if I didn't know what it's like where the bullets are actually flying. And so really thankful for that experience, and then moved to purchasing and eventually operations, and was in that role until early 20 or until late 2020. Then there was an opportunity to move into the financial leadership role here. And I was really excited about that. A mentor of mine said, "Hey, you should pursue this." So moved into that role, and for 3.5 years got to play with the numbers and build reports and be an analyst, and help support the team from a strategic standpoint on the financial end of things. And then Last summer, literally, June of 2024, the call was made for me to go into this role after our president left after a couple years, and it's been a whirlwind, but it's been very fun. A lot of changes, a lot of leadership changes, and I mean, I just wouldn't be here if it wasn't for our team. And there's been a lot of late nights and conversations over text messages when people are laying in bed on, well, what do we do? Like, how do we deal with this situation? And these are the times I think you always look back on uh, once the fortunes change and you're like, those were the good times. So I'm trying to soak it up as best I can while I have two young kids and a great wife who works as well. And the other beautiful part is it's a family business. My dad's the CEO. My brother works in the company. My uncle used to work in the company, and obviously that brings a level of challenge with it. But I wouldn't trade it for anything. We all love each other. We all want what's best. But there's definitely been some growing pains, and it took us a while to figure out how to work together and not step on each other's toes and trust each
Yeah.
other. And so I feel like we're finally getting to that stage of the business.
That's it. That's interesting. I've had the unique opportunity to also work around family, and it can bring an interesting dynamic to family dinners every once in a while, you know? Um,
Well, my brother and my spouse help with that tremendously because they I think they really help us make sure we're not bringing business to every conversation. My
yeah,
my sister-in-law actually works in the company as well. She's our leadership coordinator. So it's really my wife who is like she helps
stop.
us stay on point. I think we do a pretty good job. She may say otherwise, but it's interesting because she actually comes from a family business as well. So she understands the dynamic. So that was a blessing in itself that she at least gets it.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's that's always interesting. So tell us a little bit about Ladera Living. You were talking about the 55 plus resort, going through city council there. But for those that aren't aware, kind of what I know what you guys do, but for those out there, kind of tell us what Ladera is doing.
Yeah, so we are focused 100% on 55 plus space, single family, for ownership, and we love the space. And I think our big differentiating factor from a lot of other ones is we're gated, we're smaller community, we're not going to be the ropes and ranches, the Margaritaville latitude communities. That's not necessarily our competition. Those are other players trying to serve the customers, the target customers, just like we are. But we have a niche. We feel like that we just did customer interviews just yesterday, and it's amazing. We don't give those people a script, and they just say the same stuff that is on our website, and like it's our branding. It's gated. It's lower maintenance. We take care of a lot more of the landscape maintenance. It's smaller communities. It's 150 to 250 homes. High quality amenities. It's just a great setup, and not everyone can do it because I think the barriers to entry are pretty steep. I mean, we've felt that. I would by no stretch say that the business has been a juggernaut of success. There's been a lot of wins and losses throughout its tenure, but I feel like we've got so much intellectual capital built up, um, and we just know our customer now, and we know us, we know how we need to continue to get better. our customer base is not the easiest person to build a home for because
Sure.
they're experienced. They've lived in a home for a long time or they've built multiple homes. And there's also just the aspect that I feel we have a duty that we have to even have more care than the average consumer because it is generally an elderly person who's maybe over the age of 65, 70 years old and could have a propensity of getting taken advantage of more than a regular consumer. So we just have to be have a greater level of care, I think. And we've had very many instances where we haven't done that very well. And we've had instances where we have done that well. And the times where it is executed well and the stories are really great. And that's what it's been all about. How do we get back to that with our team and rally around the thought process that we get to change people's lives. We just hear so many stories about people who say, I wish I would have done this sooner. I wish I would have done this earlier because I get to go to a community now that I love coming home to. I love being at. I get to go, do everything I want to do during the week. I can play poker on Wednesday nights and not
Yeah, I love it.
a
Yeah.
big deal. It's mahjong, back whatever they want to play. It's all there at the amenity center. So
That's that's
it's fun to watch it unfold.
that's so cool. It's selfishly, I was excited to have you on the podcast when we started Novi. And now we work with we work with both Epcon corporate and a lot of Epcon franchises. But we would get the question all the time, like, I don't know, our buyers aren't tech savvy, or our buyers, I don't think they'll use an app. Before we jumped on, I just pulled your numbers for May. It was interesting. You guys had over 2,000 buyer logins to the app, and close to 400 chats through the app where buyers are chatting with a sales agent, or it could be a prospect even, right? Chatting with the sales agent, interacting through the app. You guys really embraced Novi as a technology in how you deliver the dream to the buyer, right? And also on the prospect side, what caused that? Like, where did that come from? I guess if somebody's out there and they're like, oh, I'm 55 plus, I don't know if this would work for me. It's working for you guys. And I guess the question is, I want to answer is why is it working for Ladera?
Well, I don't know. Let me just give you the quick journey of how we got here. And maybe that'll answer it. I don't think there's any one thing, but it all started at not the EPCON conference this past year, but the one before. We were having dinner with Chad Weaver. They build up in Pennsylvania
Yep.
and 55 plus. And, he was like, y'all need to get on Novi. And it was myself there, our director of operations at the time, our VP of sales. And so the next morning before we left, he said he was going to connect us with Haley. And so he did. And then that started the journey. He sold us totally on it. He was just like, you've just got to do it. I'm doing it. It's works great. Like you just do it and you're not going to look back. And we said, okay, if someone's given us that much advice, like you just got to jump in, I feel like.
Shout out to Chad Weaver. And we do love him. So
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if anything, you should give him, a few months for free or something like that.
there you
But
go.
so anyways, he talked us into it. And at the time, I was not the president. At the time, I was still just the CFO. And we had started the implementation process, I believe. And, then maybe a month and a half later, I got into my role. And then in August, there was just so many problems in the business. And, when the way that I operate is I think about organization and clarity a lot. And I just turned around, I was like, this is a mess. It's everybody like one. construction person's doing it different than another construction person. The salespeople are doing it different, and it's a mess. And I can't handle that. That's just not how I operate. I got to clean the closet before we do anything else, right? Before we talking about making it better. Um, so we ended up going on a journey of writing out our process, um, taking a customer from contract all the way to closing. And as you're going through that cycle, there's so many interactions with the customer, and they don't have to be done through NoviHome. But when you start thinking through how you can make them repeatable and simple for your team and simple for the customer, and ultimately make sure that everything we need to deliver to them, from expectations to documents to you know, satisfaction points to updates, anything like that. It just made sense that we really just formed this whole process around NoviHome. So the interaction starts from the beginning with NoviHome, and you know, I think some of it selfishly was built around the thought process. As you're going through problems, you're like, how do we prevent this? So a lot of it's like, how do we make sure the communication's in writing so that, if a customer is ever challenging this in the future, we can always go back to that. So some of it was built on that, which is not necessarily the best reason. I think what it's evolved to is that as we just kept walking down the road, our customers have continued to embrace it. And we were even in the mode for a little bit of, we're like, well, what happens if one of our customers doesn't want to use NoviHome because they're not at people or whatever the case may be? And we were like, well, we'll do the updates in Novi, but we'll also call them. And it turns out we were actually having issues doing that because people, like, it's just hard to keep up with. It's hard to have to expect your team to keep up with the rhythms if they're not simple enough.
Yeah.
And you could still continue to strive for the best team in the world, but it's just we got a lot. Everybody's got a lot going on, and so we ended up just saying we're going all in. Updates go through NoviHome. Documents all go through NoviHome. It all goes through NoviHome, and that's probably why you see those numbers so high. Is we've just forced the interactions to go through there, and we want the connectivity to be there. We want the in-person moments to still be very strong. NoviHome will not solve those things. To me,
No.
what NoviHome solves is the very essence and basics of communication that needs to be there. But the connectivity part is really important as well, and that's kind of the next step of our journey that Chris White, our director of customer operations, is focused on, is the celebration steps in the journey. So
Yeah, the milestones, right? Now we call those the milestones over here, but yeah, those big celebrations, milestones of four-way inspection was completed or foundation was completed, drywall. Um, it's you guys are doing awesome. You guys are doing awesome. What
sometimes
challenges?
it feels like we're plateauing, and
Well,
that's
I
you
I
just got to
think
keep striving and keep trying to shake things up. So
I think 2025 has been a an interesting year for all of us in this industry, whether you're building homes or selling technology, just to be in this industry and the turbulence of interest rates and tariffs and what's going to happen. I mean, we're all running around, but staying focused, understanding your goals. What I love about listening to you and what y'all are doing is you know who you are and you know where you're going to shine. And that's something we try and do at Novi. Like we know what our mission is, we know what we're trying to deliver. We have a level of within the company, there's a level of expectation of customer service that our customers, our builders, our builder
mhm.
clients should receive, and we always try and hit that. So I think that always helps. What are some of the challenges y'all are facing in the 55 plus right now?
um, I mean, we're always still going to face the challenge of delivering to their expectations. And, there are still always going to be times where there's going to be little nuances where the understanding's not perfect. It's hard to even analyze it because we still have some lingering issues from, um, purchasing mishaps and, just all that, again, I told you it was August. We look
Yeah.
around still, we didn't really start to me fixing stuff to be more, the quality being higher, the everything being proper until really January. So all those customers that are still being sold for 4 months are still, you kind of like, this is just unfortunately, it's going to be is what it is. And you deal with the challenges at the end of it. And you just try to figure out how to do the right thing. So there's still that. I think we're going to see a lot more strides in the upcoming closings that we have because more people are on the systems. We've got better checkpoints in place. Um, but we're continuing to try to figure out ways that we can educate our buyers. I think that's one of the big things is how do we make it easy? Because I think we've done a really good job of having the right checkpoints to educate them, but you know, between you and me, like you're just no one's going to digest everything, and that I don't think that's necessarily just an active adult thing. We just got to continue to have that. I mean, we even just came across a new issue where it's related to ovens and something about now they're on GFCIs, and if the condensation builds up, they could trip. And I mean, there's just so many little things that can happen, and our job isn't necessarily to say no, that's not our problem. What we want to make sure of is that we can help the best way possible with the resources that we have. So we're embracing doing videos and we're embracing all sorts of different technologies so that we can, make sure that when we're taking those milestones, we're also have another way where people can also educate
Yeah.
themselves by watching those. So I think that's one challenge. I mean, I think we've been really blessed with the timing of our brand transition to Ladera Living. We've really done a great job on the marketing front, selling our message, defining our message, selling our message, getting it out there. So I think that's really helped keep our traffic up. Um, we're continuing to invest in sales training just to make the most out of our prospects. I mean, we're excited that we still have people, really interested to purchase. And
Yeah.
you can make an argument that the people that are looking right now are even more interested than they have been before. Our job is really to sell them. We say that our biggest competition is their current home, and are they willing to make the move? So there's still going to be the economic challenges of a customer saying, what can I sell my house for? Can I sell my house for it? Can I afford this? What else am I doing from a financial perspective to afford this? And I think, our sales haven't been, they really haven't gone down, over the last 12 months. We actually jumped up in the second half of last year, and we're trying to do everything we can to get to a three pace per month in our communities. And we've got some great salespeople and some great sales training involved to try to get those conversions. But it really takes a whole team to satisfy the customer. I mean, they just are the active adults. They just have to. They really need to believe in you, and the way that they believe in you is that you have to show it. Like they have to see that everybody cares. Um,
Right. With the active adults, I mean, how often do you get referral sales?
we're currently, I think we're about 15 to 18% of our sales are coming from referrals. I don't, I'm not sure what the number should be. I would assume it's probably closer to like 30%.
Sure.
Um, and I think we can definitely get there. Again, we've still been battling an era of, probably lower customer satisfaction than we've had, but we've made some big strides in that over the course of the last 12 months. So yeah, we're about 12 to 18% or 15 to
Sure.
18% on our referral rate.
And I don't know the right answer either. I just imagine that's always something with that age demographic that friends telling friends, right?
Yep.
And the better experience that you all deliver, just the higher that percentage is going to go up. It'd be interesting. You'll have to go back and look at like, okay, what was our referral rate 18 months ago compared to 6 months ago? And as you guys have implemented, I know you guys have invested a lot in yourselves, both with the trainings, with technology like NoviHome, and delivering that better experience to the buyers. So maybe,
And I think it's even more challenging for us too, because the, part of the communities our associations deliver an enhanced landscape maintenance. Okay.
mm,
And that's a complex thing because even our older communities are even more complex on that. But essentially, we're doing landscape maintenance for the front lawns and the rear lawns, and it is really hard to deliver on that expectation for active adults because I mean, there's some people that they're used to doing it themselves, and it looks really good, and we're never going to be able to replicate that. And so getting a referral is even harder because you really have to, and well, there's two things that go against it. So one, our buyers are very patient. I would say that probably 40% of our contracts are people that have, their first visit was within 6 months of their contract date. And probably 60% is between that 6 months and 2 years.
yeah, I know,
A lot
I
of
know,
people just wait.
yeah, I know when we've worked in this space a little bit, and what was amazing is the amount of, as I was starting to research it, the amount of buyers that go into a master plan community, a 55 plus community, kind of that retirement last home, um, that wait, that buying process it was like something like 67% of those buyers, their their buying timeline is over 2 years.
Yeah,
Like they're researching
you see
you,
that.
and then they're revisiting, and then they're getting ready for retirement, and then okay, I've retired, I'm ready to make the jump. Which for us, I was like, okay, you really need Novi. You need to be engaged with them on the prospecting side. Um,
Yeah.
but but I think that is definitely a challenge that you all face is is that buyer's cycle, right? It's what we call it in sales, that buyer cycle of two
Well,
plus
and if you
years.
think about it too, like let's say they have friends or acquaintances that while they're waiting and haven't made their decision are buying, or they know of people who are buying, like they have a really long time to get feedback.
Yeah.
And so you have to be good for a long period of time. And we're very fortunate. We've been given a lot of grace from our owners on the landscape maintenance stuff. But we've really been focusing a lot of our strategies on how we deliver that going forward. And it's improved, but it is one of the larger challenges of all of this stuff is delivering on that aspect. And I even told a buyer, so we were actually doing a groundbreaking yesterday, new community. So we formed these committees from residents and they help manage these association operations. And she's going to join the landscape committee to help with this. And I told her, I was like, there's been so many times I've thought like, let's just not do the landscape maintenance. And she's like, no, no, that's like one of the biggest things. I was like, see, that's what I come back to every time is
Yeah.
we can't do- we can't drop it, but it's very hard to deliver. And people don't want their dues to be super high either. So it's like
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
literally flying in a tunnel that's not much larger than your airplane to get that right. So
That's interesting. I just spent you and I were talking, and I was in Alaska on a fishing trip last week, and my 67-year-old father-in-law was with me. And on Thursday, he was all stressed out because he wasn't at home to mow his lawn, and he just knew that the kid that was going to mow the lawn wasn't going to do it right. And I was like, "Come on, that's that." But that's what you're dealing with, right?
yeah.
Like it's a someone that's in a stage of life. They have a certain set of expectations, and the lawn was going to get mowed. It wasn't a matter of he wasn't worried, will my lawn be mowed? He was worried, will my lawn be mowed with the correct lines facing the street or whatever it was,
Right.
right?
It's a
So
real challenge. I mean, it's a challenge.
oh, that's crazy. That's crazy. You know, every builder, that's what one thing I love about this job and what we've done and getting to know so many builders is everybody's has different challenges, right?
Yeah.
Like that's a challenge that a builder that, you know, a production builder that's doing 250 homes a year and they don't have to worry about that.
They
You know
don't
what I
even
mean?
work. Like, that's an amazing thing. Like, you just
Yeah.
don't, that's not even a problem you deal with.
No, they're gonna listen to this podcast and go, what is Ryan even talking about? What is he
Well,
doing?
they're probably thinking I'm never going to get into active adult, which,
That's right.
I guess that's a good thing, but it is part of the challenge of it.
Well, listen, we always try and keep these podcasts at about 30, 20 or 30 minutes. Ryan, I appreciate you being such an awesome client of Novi Home and contributing in panels and obviously on this podcast and really embracing our technology. And I actually put down a couple notes here for Chris. Just listening to you, I'm like, oh, hey, we could probably solve that. We have a new feature in the milestones. You can now add dynamic content, so there can be videos of you guys talking.
Oh,
You know what
that's
I mean? So as you were talking about videos and trying to get that out to the buyers, we've already got their attention. We can add that to the milestone. And even post close, we could do, you know, a maintenance milestone for y'all
that's
where,
so great.
yeah. So
That's
anyways,
exactly, yeah. I mean, we've talked about doing it through Lasso and some other means, but whatever we can do to continue the engagement with our customers beyond the closing, during the build process, it just goes a long way.
yeah. Well, I'll get with the team. I'm gonna go talk to Kevin right now and say, hey, make sure you reach out to Chris, get video milestones up and running for these guys, and a post close, you know, almost like a what to expect maintenance, or that's an off. Obviously,
Yeah,
I'm not marketing, but um, maintenance. You know, what's next, or
that's right.
so. Well, listen, Ryan, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate you. I'm
Yeah,
glad we
I
were able
appreciate
to
you,
connect,
Cody.
and we'll talk to you soon.
All
All
right,
right,
sounds
everybody.
good. Take
Thank
care.
you. Bye bye.